Hi, I'm Brooks. In this video, I'm going to show you how when I was trying to get a tech job, I kept getting rejected or ghosted. Maybe you've been there. I even got more and more side gigs the longer it took for me to get into a tech job, which made the struggle even more real, even more complex, and more difficult. Sometimes I was going to bed at night wondering if anything I was doing was helping at all, if this was going to be an ongoing eternal push. But then I tried helping people who could help me, and that's what pulled the trigger, and I got my tech job. So let me share that with you today. So during that time, I was trying to get into a tech position thinking that the role was all about me showing myself to be up here and showing that all of my skills were enough to impress the person across the table. But one of the things that I tried when I was trying to get someone to help me was I tried to use a recruiter. So the real key was for me to get someone else to help me. And when I got a recruiter, that changed everything. But my first recruiters, I kept running into the same problem. It seemed like they just wanted to get a paycheck. It seemed like they would reach out, and when I would talk with them, they would be happy with me and be excited about my possibilities until they ran into something, and I often don't know what it was, but it just seemed to flip the switch and they were done with me. So I tried something different, and this was trying to put myself in the shoes of the recruiter. I had one recruiter reach out to me, and when I tried this, and I think it was a great collaboration, and that word collaboration with other people is key. Often we hear it called networking, but networking collab are not the same. Networking seems and smells a little bit like you're getting something you want and I'm getting something I want. Collaboration means we're both working together to get the same thing. We both, in this situation, we both wanted to get me into a role where the recruiter could get paid, but the end result was the same. And that was that the customer was impressed, that the customer got value, that the customer was able to make more sales, make more profit because I was coding for them. So this relationship with the recruiter changed everything for me because the recruiter sensed that I was caring about his role in his life. And now I'm not saying that I would ask him, what can I do to help you? But in my psyche, in my heart, and in my mindset, every time I talked to this recruiter, I was thinking, how can I get him what he needed? So I was very willing to change things on my resume. I was able and ready and willing to get excited about his input and feedback to the way I was interviewing or the way I was even speaking to him. So I tried to become someone who helped a recruiter, and all of a sudden, I had a recruiter who got me contracts, who brought me food and shelter, because that's what I was looking for at the time. Not only did this recruiter get me a contract, but he got 2 contracts, and not just 2. He ended up getting me 3 contracts, and I know he got paid for 3. Because of that mindset, he even started winning awards because all of a sudden he was helping someone who was trying to help him. Now, after I got those contracts, I still didn't have the full-time job I wanted. And I kept running into the phrase that you'll get if you've ever done contracts or if you jump into contracts, beware of this. I kept getting the phrase, well, it seems like you have a lot of contracts. Why don't you just keep contracting? In other words, the person across the table didn't always trust that I was willing to commit to a full-time, longer-term employment contract. And so short-term contracts and 1099s were what I had been doing. So I kept running into that response, and nothing really changed in my interview experience at that time until I reached out for even more help from other people. And this didn't feel like a collaboration. This felt like I owed these people. Now, in my case, I didn't pay for help. I reached out to my uncle, who could give me some advice about business. And I reached out and I heard that my cousin's wife, who worked for one of the largest newspapers in the world, had some information that she could share with me to help me improve my resume. That information from my uncle and my cousin's wife stuck with me for a very long time. And that is what changed the way I thought about writing my resume, especially for a full-time contract. See, not necessarily contract, but full-time employment, W-2. The difference between a contract, a short-term contract, and a full-time employee, there are some legal or contractual differences, of course. There are also pay structure differences. But one of the biggest differences is often a recruiter is hired as a headhunter to fill a short-term need. And that is, of course, a short-term contract. But oftentimes, people who are seeking full-time employment don't get the benefit of working with a recruiter. And that has been my experience. Yours could differ. But all of a sudden, what I had to figure out, and this is where my uncle and cousin's wife came into play, their advice came into play and really helped me, was how can I be my own recruiter? So when I got their help, I had a mind shift. I thought, how can I help the person across the table get what they need? Not just the recruiter get what they need. But since there was no recruiter, how can I help that HR person, the hiring manager, or the lead developer, or the person doing the screening call, or in some cases, the founder of the startup that I was many startups I interviewed for. But when I thought, how can I help them? How can I give them what they want and what they need? That mindset all of a sudden started opening doors. Writing my resume was different. Screening calls went differently. And interviews went smoothly, whether I got the position or not. And then behind all of that, I started to realize that my confidence was also shifting. I started to become someone who was excited to go into interviews instead of fretting about them. I started to realize that I was cracking the business code, so to speak. So many of us will go into interviews thinking that we've got to impress them. But when I started thinking about the other people more than myself, I didn't try to impress. I tried to solve their problem. And sometimes I could, and sometimes I could not. And that is what I'd like to share with you today. I hope that has been helpful for you. Now, not everything went perfectly after that. And I will add that many times I shadowed other people in the development space or in the business space. And I gleaned a lot from those people. But I think the key takeaway from this video for you should be, are you trying to help the people that you are interviewing with, whether it be a recruiter, hiring manager, lead developer, CEO of a small company, founder of a startup, or other interviewing developers or program managers or the like? Are you trying to help them or just get yourself a job? People can read that over the Zoom call.